ANC eThekwini elective conference is getting underway today. Of course, there's a lot that is expected to be happening. One of the things that is expected to be happening is the absence of the corruption-accused Sandile Swana. Now, let's discuss this further with political analyst Sandile Swana. He's joining us now, of course, via Zoom. A very good morning to you, Sandile, and thank you so much for joining us. So, obviously, a lot of the talk is about Sandile Swana and whether or not she'll make an appearance, whether or not she is allowed to make an appearance. A lot being said about how she is not allowed to make an appearance there, given everything that she is involved in or dealing with at the moment. Can we expect her there?
No, I don't think we should expect her there, because there are guidelines, the ANC guidelines on once you have stepped aside, you should not participate in ANC activities. So if she were to go there, she would be participating. You will have noticed, of course, that she has not even, as far as I'm aware, she's not even giving press conferences around her candidature. So she's going to keep a low profile until the results emerge. And even so, really, she would still not be allowed to run up and down, making all kinds of pronouncements in any ANC process.
Yeah. In that regard, though, are we saying that at the moment in time, the front runner for this one is one such Thabani Nyawo, who is, of course, we know that the current speaker of the municipality as well, undergoing this conference. There has been a general understanding that the results will be accepted from the selective conference. So are we expected the table saws to favor one such Thabani Nyawo?
Actually, it's an irony the way that is panning out. Because the way Sandile Swana got into office, she was essentially the only candidate that was there, because her competitor, James Numalo, and his faction, if you want to call it that, had boycotted the conference on the third attempt to have the conference convened because of manipulation by what has come to be known as the RET forces. So Nyawo might actually enjoy the same benefits that Sandile Swana got in getting into office.
But now, Sandile, we've seen with Mpumalanga, Mandla Msibi getting elected as the treasurer of the ANC in the province, even though he's dealing with the issues he's dealing with. And of course, there is the step-aside rule, so there's that's been happening. What is stopping ANC supporters in eThekwini from, electing Umam Swana and making sure that she's successful? Because, of course, the ANC has gone on to say that should that be the case, she must still step aside. So what's stopping the ANC, or rather, what's stopping Mam Sandile Swana from being successful?
No, there's nothing stopping her from being successful in the technical sense of being elected. The problem that she's going to face is that she gets elected into a position that she cannot actually act in. She cannot take any action, because the guidelines for stepping aside said you must not participate in ANC processes, in ANC activities, and carry out your duties, the duties that whatever capacity you have. So the only right that was remaining for her is as an ANC member. And as one commentator, a political commentator, warned us, that actually there's still a problem here, because if you are nominated, you have to accept the nomination. Once you accept the nomination, you are violating the conditions of your step aside by participating, because for you to say yes or no, you are actually participating in that process. So if the ANC is not careful, the election of Sandile Swana will be nullified in court or somewhere else, or the conference itself could be declared irregular.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the politics at play here. I know that when it comes to KZN, it's very contentious when it comes to the passion within which politics are actually expressed, right? And in many cases, as well as we've seen, is that unfortunately there's been instances where there's been loss of lives. Let's talk a little bit about the political landscape that we're actually speaking of here, and how contentious this could actually possibly be, given what is at stake. It's a high stake, especially given where the ANC finds itself this year. We've got these elective conferences, and of course we've got the big national one later on this year.
The politics of KZN have been contentious for the past 40 years. since the early 80s, because it is those politics where the idea of black politicians start killing each other started emerging before spreading out to other places such as the Eastern Cape. Even before 1994, there was contention between the ANC and the IFP to the point of death, whereby identifiable political entities. And that has now entered the realm of the eThekwini region as well, where in the previous elections in 2015, people were killed in the build-up to the elections. So the idea of physically killing a political competitor does exist in the political lexicon of KZN and the eThekwini regions especially.
One of the favorites, I just want to look at somebody else, Mr. Swana, who's been making the headlines recently. One of the favorites coming out of that province of KwaZulu-Natal is one Dr. Zweli Mkhize. You know, he is a name that is being bandied about for the leadership of the ANC at the end of the year with the National Conference. Are we expected to hear his name popping up in the KZN in terms of, you know, one of those leaders that they want to make sure is at the forefront, is at the very top of minds of, you know, ANC supporters across the country for that position of leadership? Or is this just going to be the focus of, you know, Thabani Nyaose, of course, and Sandile Swana?
Well, there's a valid question there as to, clearly, if Nyaose wins, then clearly that is a CR22 win, a Ramaphosa win. But if the Gumede faction or the RT forces win, then it may well be that they start clarifying where they stand on the question of whether they want Zweli Mkhize to be their national candidate. That candidate represents the RT force as well, and their program of what they want to see happening in the ANC and in the